Hey everybody, I hope you're all doing well. Today we're going to be talking about something really important both in and outside of school, and that's how to use and share information ethically online. So whether you're writing an essay, creating a presentation, or just posting online, chances are you're using or you're coming in contact with information, images, or ideas that originate somewhere else. It's important to learn how to contribute and exchange that information in a way that's correct and responsible. In fact, it's important enough that it's referenced in the AESL Standard Framework for Learners and Standard 4C2, which states that learners exchange information resources within and beyond their learning community by contributing to collaboratively constructed information sites, by ethically using and reproducing others' works. That could be an online class discussion. It could be in the Padlet I set up for this topic. It could be something that takes place over social media. Anywhere where you're on any online platform where you're exchanging and building on each other's works. Which brings us to our question here, which is why does that matter, and what does it mean? We touched on it a little bit already, but we use the internet constantly for school and for personal time. At varying times, we are the consumer and the distributors of information, and learning how to navigate that position correctly helps cut down on the spread of misinformation by making it easier to trace images, information, and ideas back to their original sources. When we're able to do that, we're in a better position to judge the authority of those sources, their validity, and their credibility. Um, Also, sharing information the right way gives you credibility by demonstrating transparency, honesty, and respect for the originator of the source. So, what is unethical use, and how do we avoid it? A big one is just copy pasting without credit or quotation marks. When we do that, we're misleading our audience into thinking that this is our original work or our original thoughts. Another way is using or recreating images without permission and using images without proper citation or credit. These go hand in hand, but the big difference is that the first is referring to copyrights. For instance, using or recreating a logo or copyrighted character without permission, where the second is not so much using an image that we're prohibited to use, but we are not the owner of that image, so we still need to make sure that we give credit to link that image back to its original source. Another way is outright pretending someone else's work is yours, and that could, be something you found online, you slapped your name on it, or, you paid somebody to do an assignment, just like basic plagiarism. So, how do we share information ethically? And the biggest way is just to give credit to your source. Even if you make it clear that the idea or the information you're sharing is not originally yours, it's still imperative to include where you found it for all those reasons that we already talked about before: transparency, credibility, all of that. Another way is to use free images from the public domain to avoid copyright issues, and just to always provide citations when you're borrowing someone else's image, even if it's a free one. Paraphrasing is great, but since we are borrowing thoughts or ideas from someone else's work, we need to make sure that we give credit for that. That's just like the theme of the day. Give credit. And then, the obvious one is just don't pass off people's work as yours. But how do we give credit? That's going to depend on the kind of work you're doing. Different assignments and subjects are going to require different citation methods. So just make sure that whatever format you're using for that assignment, MLA, APA, Chicago, whatever that is, that you're following it correctly, including reference in your reference pages and works cited pages. Um, Also indicate if and when you use AI. AI is getting built on now, and so it's becoming more relevant. But if and when it's used, it should be indicated. Um, Make sure that you use quotation marks when something has been copied word for word. This applies to school and outside of school. And as far as citation goes, across like social media sites and stuff like that, I don't think anybody's expecting you to cite your works in MLA, but just make sure that you are including a link where you find that original information, or if you don't have a link, make like a title, an author, any of those other defining bibliographic details. Just information that will make it easier for others who come across what you've shared to be able to track it back to its original source. All right, so now let's take a look at your part of this. Um, I would like each of you to browse the resources on the Padlet. I will show them to you. And we're going to take a look at the discussion question. Um, Please use at least one source and respond to one classmate. Make sure that you've credit your sources in response to this discussion question. Is our Padlet. If you take a look here on your right, we have three columns of sources. The first one deals with plagiarism and copyright sources. There's some videos and some articles for you to look through. The second one is having to do with source citing. Again, you have some articles and some videos here on why to cite, what things to cite. And then for our last column, we have just some general information about sharing information online in these like collaborative spaces. For our discussion post today, our question is, when you use information, images, or ideas from someone else online, what should you do to use it ethically? Please be specific about that one. And how does giving credit to sources affect the way that others may view or use your work? Okay. So please look through those sources and answer as thoughtfully as possible. I look forward to reading everybody's responses, and please reach out if you have any questions. Thank you so much.